Loss can be a terrible thing, and losing one's child can be the hardest thing for a partner to bear. While it is true that children are to be given the freedom to be themselves and live their own lifestyle, limitations are there for a reason. Not bothering to monitor them and keep them from making regrettable decisions is just bad parenting. However, what happened on November 13th of 2016 goes beyond all of this, as it was pure, unadulterated murder, acted by 4 teenagers over absolutely nothing. Greetings, salutations, and welcome to our channel. Today we're here to cover the bitter case of David Grunwald. As always, before we begin, make sure to press the like button and subscribe to our channel for more content and quality stories just like this. Also, if you don't want to miss a single one of our uploads, press that bell notification button and turn on YouTube notifications on your smartphone. Without further ado, let us dive right into the video. David Grunwald was a 16-year-old teenager that has been described as a clean-cut kid who never stayed out past his curfew. However, on one night in mid-November, David did not come back home at all. This immediately caused concern amongst many, as a massive volunteer search took place soon after, and the concern only rose as David's Ford Bronco was found torched right outside of town the next day. David's girlfriend, Victoria McKell, testified in public regarding what took place during the time when the search was conducted. "Everyone was looking for David," Malek said. "It was restless, nights for weeks. I did not get any sleep for days and days looking for him. It was just, we were hoping for anything." Alaska State Troopers managed to locate the remains of David Grunwald's body in the trees about 200 feet off Nick River Road on the 2nd of December 2016. After investigations have concluded and new discoveries are made, charges were made against one Eric Almandiger, a 16-year-old at the time, charged as an adult for the murder of David Grunwald. The explanation is that Eric watched on as a friend of his pistol whips David and beat him before he was killed. Eric continued on as he told an investigator that at least 2 of them drove David to Nick River as another teen shot him in the head. This is all that was included in the sword affidavit that was filed on the charges. What people did know for sure is that David Grunwald went missing on the 13th of November 2016, right after dropping his girlfriend at her house. This torched car was found more than 20 miles away from her house the next day at around noon. David Grunwald's parents wrote a public email that Sunday night after receiving the news of the death of their son. They mentioned that the death of their son was devastating, and the phone call that broke the news to them is still something that they're trying hard to comprehend, as it represented their worst-case scenario. They continued asking for privacy from the masses, while also expressing gratitude for all the support shown by the community as well as the hard work and support of the troopers. "The kidnapping and murder of our son was unnecessary, weak-minded, cowardice, and shameful," the couple wrote in the email. "David was a sweet, caring, and respecting boy. He is viciously attacked and murdered." So, what exactly happened? What caused 4 teenage boys to suddenly attack and kill one of their own friends like this? Well, let us follow the public account that the court had followed to this day. Eric claimed that David arrived at his house, which is located on Etsy Drive in Palmer, on the 13th of November to drink and smoke in the camper trailer that was in the yard. At one point during the evening, Eric left the trailer and went back into his house. He claimed that a friend, who was later identified as Dominic Johnson, had messaged him in order to ask him to bring a gun back to the trailer. Eric claimed that he complied as he bought a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun that belonged to his father into the trailer as he handed it over to Dominic. In a surprise turn of events, Dominic pistol whipped David in the back of the head. Eric, along with Dominic, had loaded up David's unconscious body onto David's own Bronco as they drove him into Butte. During the drive, it was clear that David was in a constant state of going in and out of consciousness with no energy to defend himself. David, still dazed, asked the teens to ask him to his girlfriend's house in Butte, but Eric and Dominic ignored his request as they pass her road and keep driving for another 10 minutes until they reached Nick River Road. They stopped with the car when they reached the location and walked into the woods with David. By this time, however, David Grunwald was fully awake as he realized what was going on. He pleaded for his life as they forced him to walk alongside them. The public account initially said that Dominic pulled the trigger and killed David, but eventually Eric changed his story and identified the killer to be another 16-year-old named Austin Barrett. Eric then claimed that he had decided to destroy the evidence at the time, and he claimed that both him and Dominic got themselves some gasoline before driving David's car to a trail up Bald Mountain Ridge, which was off Sites Road, as they lathed it with gasoline and burned it. Eric also recounted that both him and Dominic attempted to erase DNA from the camper by burning the bloodied carpet, and then applying bleach everywhere. Eric then claimed that he decided to stay over at a friend's shed for the next couple of days. Of course, as investigations continued and attorneys conferred with one another, Dominic ended up giving out the directions to the spot where David Grunwald was shot dead. When investigators scanned the premises, they managed to find a single 9mm shell casing. What's eerie about this whole ordeal is that during initial interrogations, Eric showed little to no remorse. When they questioned Eric for a motive, all they got out of him was that David had smoked all his weed and that they did not get any money for it. So with such a case, how did they make any headway? All it took was focusing on one thing that each and every teenager carries: their mobile phones. All the teenagers involved in the case, including the victim David Grunwald, had left a trail on social media. The authorities managed to seize a Samsung Galaxy tablet at Eric's home, which contained Facebook messages between Eric and Dominic on the night that David was murdered. Below, it's a rough transcript of the conversation that took place. Dominic messaged Eric at 6:22 PM. "We're in the camper." In the conversation that followed, Eric tells Dominic that he does not want to walk outside because he didn't want to tip off his dad that there were other teenagers inside the camper. David Grunwald arrives at Eric's camper at around 6:40, according to a timeline that was provided to court. A quick email transaction that happened between David and a teenage girl named Angela Dickus at around 7 PM revealed that David was smoking a J, which is the slang term for a marijuana joint. This prompted the investigators to figure out exactly what time David was in the camper. That same night, David apparently sent a message back to her asking for a Snapchat information, but she claimed in court that she was asleep by the time the message was sent out, and she didn't open him. That was the last time Angela ever had contact with David. However, this is where things started to take a turn. At around 8:10 PM that night, the Facebook messages take a different turn. While Eric was still inside the house, Dominic messages Eric and asks for his toolie, which is a slang term used to refer to a gun that Eric had. It was a Ruger .40 caliber pistol. In the messages, Dominic offers $80 to use it as well, as Eric was uncertain. He said that they can talk in person and figure it out later. Dominic replies back to these messages as he claimed that he cannot talk in person, as he asked, "Do you want to be let in or something?" He edged Eric on, even going as far as to ask him to swear not to tell anybody else. "I gotta act fast, right now. Fast, you feel me?" Dominic wrote in Facebook DMs at 8:16 PM. This is where the logs take a turn, as Dominic and Eric switch to converse via Snapchat, which is a social media app that automatically deletes conversations for privacy reasons. We all know what happened from here. Eric brought the gun to Dominic in the camper, and Dominic used it to knock out David. However, there was more testimony that pointed the court at the right direction, as Dominic's mother testified and also claimed that she heard her son on a video saying something along the lines of, "Yeah, I hit him hard." But she did not hear anything about David. Also, to make matters worse, pictures that were on Eric's tablet also included a picture of him with the words "killers" edited over it. Of course, the internet logs that occurred a few days after the murder were interesting, as Eric even posted a missing poster on his social media to keep up appearances, while also searching for unique crypt-related items on Etsy. Quite the unique combination. Another discovery that made a lot of people cringe was a message that was pulled from Devin Peterson's Facebook account, where Eric had claimed that the investigators, and I quote, "literally have nothing and think they can get me to say I did some shit I didn't do." He continues on to say, "F with a 16-year-old genius, see what happens. Smiley face. When you're smarter than the cops." If that did not immediately shine suspicions at Eric, I don't know what will. Of course, the most incriminating evidence of all was the mobile data that was collected on the night of the murder. A mapping of mobile signals showed Eric Almandinga, Dominic Johnson, Austin Barrett, and Bradley Renfro, and David Grunwald all together in Palmer, which is where the camper was located. Then David's signal went dark, as the other teens had their signals ping all the way to Butte, and then the Nick, and then towards the area where the Bronco was found. The last time David Grunwald's phone pinged with a signal was at 8:35 PM on the 13th of November 2016. The phone didn't connect to a network at all from that point onwards. Investigators claimed that the teenagers broke David's phone and tossed it out the window on their way to Nick River Road. The situation itself left a bitter taste in many people's mouths, as there was no solid motive for the murder, as it just happened. As of the time of this video's creation, Austin Barrett is the only person out of the four involved in the trial to be sentenced as of yet. He got 45 years in prison as a result of a plea deal. Meanwhile, Eric, Dominic and Bradley remain jailed on murder convictions and are awaiting their own sentencing rulings. We've now reached the end of today's video. Did you like this story? For more stories just like this, subscribe to our channel and click that bell button to get an update every single time we upload a new video. Make sure to like the video and share it with your friends and family. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.